The floodwaters came without mercy. In the spring of 1875, the North Platte River swallowed everything Sarah Knightley had ever called home. One moment she was stacking the last of her belongings onto a wagon, rain blinding her eyes. The next, the water was already climbing her ankles, rising fast, tearing away the cabin where every memory of her parents still lived. Imagine watching your entire past, every brick of safety, every keepsake of family, dissolve beneath brown, raging waters. Alone at 23, Sarah thought this was the end of her story. But then, through the storm, came the sound of hooves. A cowboy on a chestnut stallion, his voice cutting through the thunder, offering her not just escape, but something she never expected: a future. What followed was not just a tale of survival, but of trust, courage, and the quiet kind of love that grows in the harshest places. Because sometimes when the flood takes everything, it leaves room for something even greater. Before we dive in, if stories of resilience, love, and the untamed Wild West speak to your heart, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more heartwarming tales, and share this with someone who needs a reminder that hope can rise even from the deepest waters. Your support keeps these true-to-spirit Western stories alive on this channel. The storm had been brewing for days, but nothing could have prepared Sarah Knightley for the roar of the North Platte River when its banks finally gave way. Rain lashed at her face, blurring the lines between earth and sky, as she dragged her father's old chest onto the wagon. Every plank of her small homestead groaned under the pressure of water rushing against it. Her boots sank into the mud, skirts heavy with rain. 23 years of life, of memories, of her parents' love. It was all slipping beneath the rising flood. She urged her horse, Maple, to stay calm, though the animal trembled as thunder cracked overhead. The water reached her ankles now, cold and merciless. And yet, Sarah didn't cry. Not then. She bit her lip and forced her shaking hands to tie the last knot. The chest contained the farm's meager profits, barely enough for a new start. Maybe. But as she turned, the sight stole her breath. The cabin's bottom step disappeared beneath the churning waters. It wasn't just wood being taken. It was her history, her safety, her childhood. Then, over the rain, came a shout. A man's voice, urgent, demanding she move now. Through the sheets of rain, a tall rider appeared on horseback, water splashing high with every stride of his chestnut stallion. His hat brim shielded his face, but his voice carried clear over the thunder. "Miss, the bridge won't hold. Get moving now." Sarah froze, hands gripping the reins. Trusting a stranger wasn't something you did lightly out here, but what choice did she have? The water was climbing, threatening to take both her wagon and her horse. The cowboy urged his horse closer, his blue eyes flashing like the sky after a storm. "Follow me to higher ground." With a sharp snap of her reins, Sarah guided Maple forward. The wagon groaned as the current tugged at its wheels. Every step felt like it could be the last, but the stranger kept glancing back, making sure she followed. By the time they crested the hill, Sarah's chest heaved with exhaustion. She turned for one final look. Only the cabin's roof remained above the swirling brown flood. Her whole world was gone. The cowboy dismounted, removing his hat. "Lucas Dawson," he said, voice steady. "My ranch is 3 miles west. You're welcome to shelter there." And for the first time that day, Sarah let herself breathe. Lucas Dawson's ranch rose like a fortress against the storm. Compared to Sarah's lost cabin, the 2-story house with its barn and corral felt almost unreal, a place too sturdy to ever wash away. Inside, a fire roared in the hearth, casting warmth over simple but welcoming rooms. Sarah stood dripping on the wooden floor, suddenly aware of how bedraggled she looked. Lucas's voice was gentle but firm. "The upstairs room is yours. I'll take the back." She protested, but he cut her off with a smile. "I insist. My sister left clothes here last summer. They might fit you." Sarah wanted to refuse his charity, but the truth was, she needed it. As she slipped into a clean blue dress, her heart tightened. Why would a stranger offer so much? Later, over supper of beans and cornbread, she found herself opening up. She told him of her parents, of the years fighting to keep the small farm alive, He listened, not with pity, but with respect. Lucas shared his own story. A soldier turned rancher, carving a life in the Nebraska plains. 2 lives shaped by hardship, now crossing paths by chance. And in that quiet kitchen, something unspoken began to take root. Spring brought more than sunshine to the ranch. It brought the cattle drive, and with it, a test of Sarah's grit. When Lucas mentioned the long weeks on the trail, she surprised him with a steady reply. "I can ride. I can work. Let me prove it." The cowboys were skeptical at first. A woman among them? But Sarah earned her place quickly, up before dawn, working as hard as any man, refusing to let exhaustion break her spirit. Her hands blistered, her muscles ached, but she never complained. Then came the night by the river. A rattlesnake spooked the herd, and chaos erupted. In the dust and thunder of hooves, Sarah rode straight into danger, turning the cattle before they could crush the camp. She saved them, but the ground gave way, and both she and Maple were swept into the current. Lucas was there in an instant, plunging into the river, pulling her from the rushing water with sheer desperation. On the bank, holding her close, his voice shook. "If anything happened to you," for a heartbeat their world was only soaked clothes, pounding hearts, and the realization of how much they meant to each other. Something had changed. Forever. The cattle drive ended, but the bond forged on the trail only deepened once Sarah and Lucas returned to the ranch. What had started as survival grew into partnership, and then into love. One night by the fire, Sarah admitted her fear. "I can't build my future on gratitude, Lucas." His answer was simple, steady. "This isn't gratitude. It's love. My house stands tall enough for both our hearts, not just as shelter but as a home." Tears filled her eyes, but her smile was radiant. For the first time since the flood, she didn't feel adrift. She felt rooted. In him. With him. Weeks later, they were married in the small church at Valentine. Neighbors and ranch hands cheered as Sarah, dressed in pale blue calico, stood beside the cowboy who had become her anchor. Together they built more than fences and fields. They built a life. A home filled with laughter, hope, and dreams for children yet to come. The flood had taken her cabin, but it had given her something greater, a love strong enough to outlast any storm. And so, out of loss, Sarah found love, and out of disaster, a new beginning. The Nebraska plains tested them both, but side by side, they discovered that true shelter isn't just made of wood and stone. It's made of hearts bound together. If this story touched you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs a reminder that even when the waters rise, hope can still stand tall. Until next time, thank you for watching, and take care.